energy ambassador, right? This person is our energy ambassador. I say our energy conductor, because what she does in everyday life and everything she's been through, and still keeps that positive outlook and still is able to help a team go in that positive direction. This book is so in line with who this person is. And besides that, she wrote a book going through some hard times. She could have chose, with the difficulties she's been doing, to have a negative outlook and not a positive energy about it, right? Anybody would use that as an excuse. And yet she was thinking about her team. She has a big heart and she wrote a book. Right? Personally, you know, I look up to her like a little sister, because I got a few years on her, but she's a leader for me. Like I can attest, like Larry and Mark and stuff. This woman is awesome, and I had the pleasure of introducing our fearless leader, our energy ambassador, Miss Miranda Martin.
Thank you. I'm so excited today, guys. I'm like going to talk to you about one of my very favorite topics. They actually say that you should write a book on something that you get asked the most advice from other people on. And this topic is something that I get calls from all the time for coaching and for advice on how did you make your business work as a single mom going through a divorce, and still put up close to 300 like $30,000 of business, I think it was. And what happened is, when we really zero in on this, what topic that I'm about to share with you, I've seen people's business more than double, sometimes triple, because of the topic that we're about to talk about today. I saw an agent that we're going to hear from a little bit go from struggling to putting up $12,500 in a week. You know, I've seen transformations happen on this topic. So I want every single person to grab a pen and a piece of paper. Because there's going to be some excitement as we go through here. Okay, this is going to be interactive. But question: how many of you guys feel like sometimes you work all day but you don't get anything done? Does that ever happen to anyone? Okay. All right. How about, do you think, true or false, that you waste time and energy on deciding what to do? Do you think that's true or false? All right. Another one. Do you think that it causes relationships issues with those that you care about when they don't know what you're doing and when you're working? Okay. True or false? Do you think winning $250 in lead cash this week would help your business? Okay. Well, I'm going to show you at the end of the call how you can be in the running to win $250 of lead cash. But guys, the topic of today's call is the schedule of a $100,000 producer and builder. Okay. What we're going to talk about today is something that's going to be on how do you structure your time and your day when we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's what we do with it. Would you agree with that? All right. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks. A lot of what we talk about today is going to be targeted towards that full-time person. I do have some part-time stuff in here, but just scale this down. I know not everyone is in here is looking to run full board ahead full-time, and that's okay. Some people are in here part-time, just looking to make some extra cash, and that's okay too. But I want everyone to kind of come along with me on this journey. Who was here when we read the 5 years? The 5 years is a book that we have to read again because it's one of the coolest things about time management. Did you guys know that there's one time vampire that's stealing your production, and it's your distractions? Okay? When we do this, like, time management 101, the very first thing that I recommend is turn off the notifications for like your social media. Take those apps off your phone, and anything that's not important, it shouldn't be dinging you when you guys are in the middle of working. Those of you that have read my book may know the answer to this question, but when you get distracted, how long does it take to get back on track when you get distracted from something on average?
23 minutes.
Yes. So every time you chase that rabbit, right? You chase that rabbit, you get distracted 4 times, you just lost an hour out of your day, right? Like, and if you go to work for somebody else, right? Let's say you're full time, how many hours do you work in a day?
realistically, or like coffee
Like
break, lunch break?
on the calendar, on the schedule, right? You're like, it's typically an 8-hour workday. You just
Right.
lost an hour just because you're letting yourself get distracted. But here's the thing: why work harder for a boss than you would for your own self? Right? It's so easy to stick to a schedule, right? When someone's forcing you to. I want all of you guys to write down that you are going to be your own worst boss for yourself, but you want to be your best employee that you've ever seen. Okay. And it all starts number one, and I'm just going to go through this quickly, but guys, there's 5 gears that we end up in. Number one, we're recharging, which is important. That should be on your schedule. Connecting with your friends, family, whatever. That's like deep conversations, maybe with a friend or whatever. Social mode is like fun, doing fun things. I know for some of us, that's my worst gear. I like having fun, but at the same time, it's hard for me to stop thinking about work because I love what I do so much. 4th gear is multitasking, and 5th gear is being focused on one thing. Guess what? Every single one of you guys, if I had to guess, you spend most of your working time in 4th gear. Some of you might be doing it right now. And guess what? Those of you that raised your hand that said I work all day hard, but I don't feel like I get anything done, that's because we're doing it in 4th gear, right? So 5th gear is when you really move the needle, when you're focused on one thing, no distractions, and you have to decide in advance what that thing is going to be. Show of hands if you are an introvert or you think you're an introvert. Okay. You probably can get into 5th gear pretty easy. Okay. You're wired for that. Show of hands if you're an extrovert. You are going to have to really work on getting into 5th gear. Okay. It's very hard. So you guys are going to have to really work with me here on this. Okay. Because it's going to be harder. That's okay. You can still do it, but you might need to really have some mental planning ahead of time. Like for me, like a lot of times when I have a busy day, like today, it started last night at about 5 o'clock, planning what I was going to do today, waking up an hour earlier. So instead of 5 o'clock, I got up at 4 o'clock, right? I knocked out my workout before my day got started. So I got back an extra hour. So I didn't have to do that later, right? Like we got to sometimes start planning our day ahead of time. But it's just good to know because sometimes you're going to be trying to work and you're in like 4th or 5th gear, but your family wants you in 3rd gear, hanging out. Do you think that could cause a problem? Or maybe your spouse or your kids are trying to talk to you and connect, but you're in 4th gear and you're too busy looking at your phone instead of listening to them. Or your agent wants to get into 2nd gear, or you want to get into 2nd gear with your upline, but they're in 4th gear. You guys feel me? So all of this is super important as we go through. So guys, what we're going to do, the whole objective here in the next 22 minutes is to have all of you guys understand what a foundational schedule is. Maybe you have one, but I don't care. Even if you have one, I want you to kind of relook at it again. Show of hands if you have a foundational schedule right now. Okay. Show of hands, keep them up if you've actually looked at it and revised it again this week. Okay. So that's the goal. We want to have one that you've already planned out what is going to happen on a normal week, right? And then each week you actually want to look at it. And what I do is I put it into a planner and now I start blocking in each week what's going to happen. So I already know what I think is going to happen each week from my foundational schedule. And then I block it out because each week is a little different, isn't it? Maybe you've got a doctor's appointment or some extra thing you need to do or an extra conference call or just, things change, right? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do, oops, what's going on? Foundational and weekly schedule. So once it's on your schedule, guys, this is a commitment to yourself. You've now put it in writing. It's a commitment to your family, your success, your livelihood. And I always say that if it's not on your schedule, you can't consider it a real commitment. For example, let's say that you want to become agency owner, but you don't have any recruiting time on your schedule. Let's say you want to lose 10 pounds, but you don't have working out on your schedule. Let's say you want to improve your relationship with your significant other or do warm touches with your team, but it's not on your schedule. It's a wish, right? It's not a commitment. Okay? So put it on your schedule. So what I want you guys to do right now is I want you to think of on your paper. I want you to just quickly, for in your personal life, I want you to write down the 2 things that are important to you, 2 commitments that you want to work on or that you want on your schedule. And at this, maybe 3, but at least 2 that are important to you. But no more than 3, okay? Because we want to pick the top. Not everything is as important, right? So the most important. And in whatever comes to your mind, the first 2 to 3 things in your business that are the most important to you right now. Okay. So those are your 2 to 3 commitments. So I'm going to give you the ones that are your 3 business initiatives. Okay. They might be different than what's on your paper, but I can guarantee they're going to help you reach whatever you have written down. That sound fair enough? Again, this training is around becoming a producer builder. So if you're not wanting to build, that's okay. But chances are you are. So we're going to teach you how to do it. Okay. So when I look back through all of my journals, and I actually meant to put a picture of it up here, and I didn't get that far this morning, but everything that I did when I was a producer looking to build a team, to build an agency, to develop to the top contract level, there's 3 things that I looked at every week. All right. The very first thing that we want to look at every single week is your non-negotiable appointments. If you don't have your appointments, you're not in business, right? You don't have money to survive if this is your only income. You don't have money to reinvest in building your dreams, right? So the appointment's non-negotiable every single week. The second one, if you're serious about building a team, you want to do 25 interviews per week. And you want to sell 1 to 2 conference tickets every single week. If you're brand new, maybe it's 1. Okay. If you're building and you just want to start building, then I'm okay with you putting that number to 15 to get started, but then I want you to raise it up to 25. Some of you guys are like, what? I do 50 a week, and that you can put 50, but I'm just like, what is kind of the baseline? This is what I looked at. This is my measure that I measured myself against every single week. Okay. So we have 2 templates that you guys can work off for your schedule. They're found at sfgagentmentor.com/make schedule. I'll drop it in the chat in a second here. Where's the chat? Boom. So you guys, after we're done this call, you can go in there and print off a template. But in the meantime, I want you to just use the piece of paper that you have written down to take notes, because that's going to take extra time to go print that right now. So here's the, okay, sorry, I'm going to pause for a second. When we talk about appointments, write in the chat bar for me, how many appointments is your non-negotiable target that you have put together with your upline or your agency owner that you need every single week to get what you need out of this business? Okay, let's see the chat. Drop it in the chat. I'm going to give you some help here for those of you that maybe don't know, and maybe you're brand new and you're sitting on the line here and you haven't even got started yet. And this is probably right in line with what you guys are dropping in the chat, okay? So if you're looking to make 50 grand a year, you're probably going to need about 8 to 12 appointments per week for virtual sales. $75,000 a year, you're probably going to need 15. If you're looking to make 100, you're going to need about 20 to 25. And if you're looking to be like Dave Kushner and Albero and those Hader and Carlos and Tim, those guys are doing over 30 a week. Okay. If you're running just in the home, then we would drop these down about five or so appointments a week. But for virtual sales, really that number, it used to be 15 appointments per week, but because of virtual sales, it's now about 22, is what Casey Watkins said, the founder. So here's my disclaimer. Results may vary. based on your close rate and your show rate. So confirm with your upline saying, hey, is this right? Is this the number that I need? Sometimes I've even seen people that have really good on the phone only need like 6 appointments to get that $50,000 a year. But they know their stuff and they know they use the system and that. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add on this, but man, just connecting the dots here.
Yeah, I would like to add that also plays into how important it is to invest into a good set of leads each week. You know, because if you have lower leads where you have to make more calls, you have less time to see so many people. So if you invest in good leads, you only have to make like 20 or 30 calls for 5 appointments and it's done. You know, so that's also extremely important.
Awesome.
And Miranda, just get really great at your presentations. Learn that presentation and you can cut that number down.
Yep. So there's variables, and once you've mastered this business, you're right, you can start cutting that number down. But if you're just kind of learning this business out, you want to stack the appointments on your side. You want more than less. And the number one reason that people fail in this business is they don't make enough dials. And they don't make enough dials because they're not committed to their schedule, or they're not committed to their lead spend, which are both two things. And Jasmine, I want you to quickly talk just before I dive into what goes on the schedule and how to do this. Real quick, I remember you came over and Jasmine was struggling, okay? Single mom, she had 2 little kids, and you kind of got yourself in a pickle, didn't you? Where you were like, I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. And
yeah, the transition when we went from in-home to just virtual really threw me off, and I freaked out because I not only had to produce and work full-time, I also had 2 children, a middle schooler and a high schooler full-time at home with homeschooling, you know. Yeah, so I remember that.
I remember we sat down and Jasmine committed to her schedule on what I'm about to show you. It was uncomfortable because Jasmine at the time was kind of dropping her kid off in the middle of dials where we thought she should be dialing, and she had responsibilities, the dogs that she was fostering, and she had a lot of plates that this girl was spinning. And I remember, Jasmine, after we got your schedule on lockdown, you wrote $12,500 in a week, and I think you followed it up with like a $42,000 a month. And it was, and the thing was, and I'm going to show you what her schedule looked like and after we worked on it, would happen. But every single morning, Jasmine would text Jamie and I her schedule and say, this is what I'm going to do today. What do you guys think? And we might say, I love it, girl. And we'd say, no, let's move this around because it was showtime. And then I know, Jasmine, a few months later, I think you had money saved up. You're booking trips to Germany for a month, and you transformed because of doing what we're talking about now. And I'm just so proud of you because you just never looked back, you know. So let's talk about what happened here and what goes on the schedule. I know. So on here, there's 7 things, and you guys are gonna have your personal things that I'm not going to talk about. That's something that you can figure out, but I'll tell you where I recommend it goes. The first thing that goes on your schedule is training yourself. You can't win at this business if you don't know what you're doing or you don't get your head right. Would you guys agree with that? You can have all the skills in the world and you can follow the system, but if your head's in the dump, you're going to get dumpy results, okay? To me, because if I'm not in my A game, I get terrible results, right? So reading, conference calls, time to study, that's first. The second thing that goes on your schedule is your appointment setting. And I recommend when you sit down, you're trying to go through 100 dials at least, or your whole stack every time you sit down to dial. Sometimes I see people sit down and they're doing like 40 dials and that's it. That's okay if you only dialed for 1 hour, but push yourself to say, you know what? I'm here to win. I'm here to win big, and I'm going to at least dial through my whole stack. If you are part-time, how many leads in a week do you get if you're part-time? Does anyone remember?
30 to 40.
30. So if you triple dial those leads, how many dials did you make?
90.
See? So you called them one time, right? That's it. You can. How many a week do we want to make on all of our new leads? Passes. Yes. If you do that, every time you sit down and you call all of your leads at least once, it's impossible for you to not hit massive action. It's impossible, in my opinion. You keep doing that, you're going to get your appointments, as long as they're new leads. But the number one reason people fail in this business, what did I say? They don't make enough dials.
Activity.
Okay? Yes. All right. And then next, after that, it's personal bit stuff. So, Jasmine, the conversation we had, and I've had this all, like, show of hands if you guys have your bills paid already. Actually, before you, like, symmetry is a hobby, or maybe you're just doing it for extra cash, your bills are paid already. If you're not in that boat, so Rick, you're kind of, you know, so if you're not in that boat, if you don't get your appointments, you're in a bad spot. Would you agree with that? So in my opinion, that has to be the most highest priority thing in your entire week. I didn't go, like, at the time we were running in the field, so I was Friday morning, Friday night, Saturday. My life did not exist until I had my appointments. Jasmine, we put a hold on every single thing that this girl wanted to do during dial time. She wasn't, I'm not going to say it loud. We talked about it. We agreed that, like, she was going to do anything during her dial time, because you don't get your appointments, you're in a bad spot. Okay? So when you put it on your schedule, that's your commitment. All right? So after that, you can start blocking in your personal stuff. So all of my kids' stuff had to go in between my dial time. And you guys get to pick that, right? You all own your own business. But once you have it on here, just commit to yourself, I'm going to make those dials. After you've got your personal stuff figured out, if we can mute someone, I just keep hearing a lot of background noise in my headset.
Yeah, somebody's got noise. I can't
yeah.
tell.
Okay. All right. So, oops. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I was trying to mute someone. Okay. Next, we're going to add on building. So we've got 25 interviews a week. I recommend putting them on one day, but once you figure that out, one of the things that I like doing was doing 5 a day. Because what you do every day, you get good at. What you do occasionally, you're mediocre at, right? But you might not be there yet, and production's first. So whatever, if it's not going to take away from your personal production, then you can do it every day, right? Now we can run our appointments. Then we got to figure out when we're going to prep for those appointments. And we also, it's 7, but it's not number 7 in importance. We have to put time to follow up on our business. Mark, I don't know if you have anything to add here, but this is the order that I put it on.
Yes. So when we talk about the appointment setting, this is where people get out of the lane and end up exiting this business. It is really there. The other things, I mean, I love the priority, the intentionality, and how you build it, having your core first, non-negotiable. But I got to tell you, whether you put building your legacy after running appointments or before, it's all about setting those appointments. And I'll go beyond that in virtual sales. It's all about the presentation count. The good thing about dialing is that I call it elastic. You can do as much of it as you need. You can pour more time into it. You can do it at 9 a.m. You can do it at 7 p.m. You can do as much of it as you need. You need your presentation count. If you have your presentation count and you use the support resources available to you in our entire group, you will succeed here. And you will absolutely be in this business. But the part that you've got to commit to, and I love the intentionality you're putting behind this, you've got to commit to getting on the phone and dialing. There's no substitute for it. You can't think your way around it. You can't outsmart it. You can't do better than everybody else in 5,000 people doing it every day. That's the part that you've got to commit to and develop the skills. Number 1 is training. You got to develop the skills so that you can attack that task. And believe me, the rest of it is going to start rolling downhill for you.
Yeah. So guys, here's just some examples. Like, it's your business, so you're going to do this however you want. But I just want every single person, my goal is for all of you guys to have a foundational schedule. I don't care if it's this one, just have one with those 7 things on it. This is on that website, the SFG Agent Mentor /schedule, and it's also on the template. If you're part-time, oops, this isn't a part-time one. My part-time one didn't work.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
workbook.
that's okay.
Yeah, the workbook on the website has a couple of the document has a couple of workbooks. One of them's got part-time and full-time schedule. So go get those templates.
Yeah, I'll pull it up at the end. I just want to get through. We only got a few minutes, and I'll pull it up at the end. If you're running appointments in the home, which I don't really think a lot of us are, but there's a sample for that. This is a calendar that I got in from somebody last time we did this. It was awesome. That we had blocks for dial, we had family time, we had studying, miracle morning, we had conference calls. This was an admin that was looking to get into production, so they were running admin stuff, plus they were running production. And then this was Jasmine's calendar that she had when she wasn't getting the results that she wanted. And this is what it looked like after she was getting the results that she wanted. See the difference?
And what Jasmine did is she didn't just make the schedule and ignore her boss. She respected the schedule, right? She stopped
every day.
Yeah,
she checked in for accountability every day.
It's such a shining example as when you do it, when you commit to it, what you're capable of. And look at Jasmine today; she's about to break out with an agency.
Thank you. And you have to be vulnerable with this. You know, if you're stuck at something, and I think we just read it in the book yesterday, if you repeat what you've done before and want different results, you're not going to get it unless you change something. And if that means that you have to get vulnerable and share your personal things with you, you know, especially your time and how you manage it, and be okay with somebody saying, hey, that sucks, you got to change that. You know, but otherwise you can't change anything, get better.
This was one that I wrote right before I was getting out of the field. I was down to running 13 appointments, just like Charles was saying. Once you get better, you can do less. And I had, when I was going to go check my mail, I had, when I was going to go with my kids, I had admin work, I had family time, I had times when I was going to organize my house. Like, it was all here, man. And then Ryan knew, you know, I'd let him know when I'm dialing and doing different things. And if I like tried calling him about something, he's like, are you supposed to be dialing? I'm like, oh. So the one last thing, guys, and then we're going to wrap up, is once you've done your foundational schedule, ask yourself, what are you expecting from yourself in each block of time? This is the one thing that is missing on a lot of the schedules I see. So for example, when you're doing dials, how many appointments are you going to do in each block of time? How many dials are you going to commit to? If you're running appointments, how much APV are you going to write? What gear are you supposed to be in is something that I look at too, to make sure, man, I can be fully present in whatever I'm doing. Because us putting things down ahead of time, isn't that really like a visualization exercise? And we're pre-planning in advance what we want to have happen, gives us a chance to have it happen 2 to 3 times quicker. So I'm going to show you really quickly where the website is so that you guys can find your templates.
So while you're pulling that up, a really good measure for dialing efficiency, if you're manually dialing, as a goal, you should be doing 30 to 35 dials an hour. You're triple dialing, you're tracking on a tick sheet or tracking it. If you're using the dialer's tracking your stats for you. It's a different set of numbers. But if you're manually dialing, you should be at 30, 35 dials an hour. And that efficiency in dialing, being on task, being in fifth gear without interruption, will allow you to hit your dial goals.
So I'm on the business planning page. And when you scroll down,
I love that page.
It says download schedule template and then download weekly printable calendar. So either one, if you're a computer person, you can use that, or if you like writing it out, you can print that off. But here's the part-time schedule example. Here's full-time, and then I put my old one way down here at the bottom, just to give you some ideas. But I want every single one of you guys to do this as soon as possible if you don't already have it, because I have a way for you to earn $250 this week. So who's in? Who wants to learn how to do that?
Light it up.
All right, you guys know how I love my challenges, right? So this is the calendar. I don't know if it's called the schedule challenge, calendar challenge, whatever you want to call it. So I want you to create your foundational schedule. I want you to share it with your upline, your AO, and me, either by email or text. I want you to share it with your family and your accountability group if applicable. Okay? And I want you to hit the Massive Action Club at least twice by the end of Thursday. So this contest, you have until Thursday to get all this done, to share it with your family, have a family meeting, create your schedule. I want to see it. Your upline wants to see it. We all want to see it, right? And I want you to post on Crew by Thursday night if you hit all 4 things to be entered into our Friday drawing. And we're going to do a drawing, a wheel spin for $250. One person's basically going to get their leads paid for. So again, if one person does it or 50 people do it or 100 people, that'll be your odds. But again, the contests aren't about the money. That's just to get you guys moving. It's about what you're going to learn by doing it. So I'm excited, guys. This is something that I am so passionate about because it changed my business. It changed my life. And it's something that if you're not doing, it's going to do that for you too. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you, Tazzy.
Thanks.